Your whole life, you've been losing energy without even knowing it, like a leak you never saw. Every time you talked to people who didn't deserve your words, you gave them a piece of you. Every time you tried explaining yourself to people who refused to understand you, you let them control how you feel. This is something weak people never get, and strong people never forget. Your focus isn't cheap. It's the most valuable thing you own. And you've been wasting it on people who wouldn't even help you if you needed them. Machiavelli figured this out 500 years ago. The leader who runs after people ends up falling. Tonight you're going to learn what separates winners from losers. The cold, smart way of ignoring people. And once you get this, nobody will ever control you again. The power of staying quiet. Why Machiavelli never chased anyone. Niccolo Machiavelli watched kingdoms rise and collapse from the back rooms of Florence. He studied kings, religious leaders, and army commanders. He broke down power like a doctor studies the human body. And through everything he saw, one thing rang louder than any war cry. The person who chases loses. The person who steps back wins. You see, Machiavelli didn't care about what's fair. He cared about what works. And what works is this. People who hold back their presence become magnetic. People who give it away freely become forgettable. The leader who answered every insult looked insecure. The leader who responded to every hater looked defensive. But the leader who stayed quiet, who let his enemies yell into nothing, that leader was feared because silence isn't empty. Silence makes a statement. It says you're not worth my response. It says your existence doesn't deserve my energy. It says I'm playing a game you can't even reach. This is why Machiavelli told leaders to be like the fox and the lion. The fox is smart enough to spot traps. The lion is strong enough to know which fights are beneath him. Most guys today are neither. They're like dogs running after every car, barking at everyone, wearing themselves out for nothing. You won't be that guy. You'll understand that real power isn't loud. Real power is quiet. Real power doesn't need to explain itself. Real power doesn't need to defend itself. Real power just exists, and everything else adjusts around it. When you master staying quiet, you stop playing games other people designed. You make your own game. And in your game, the only way to win is to not react at all. What happens in their head when you ignore them? Let me show you what goes on inside someone's mind when you ignore them. This is psychology at its darkest. When you refuse to acknowledge someone, their brain goes into panic mode. Scientists call it social rejection. And it lights up the same parts of the brain as actual physical pain. They feel it in their chest, they feel it in their gut, and they can't escape it. The person you are ignoring will replay every conversation, looking for answers. They'll wake up at night, wondering what they did wrong. They'll write messages they'll never send. They'll practice conversations that will never happen. You've become a ghost living in their head. This is the power you have when you simply look away. The human brain can't handle being dismissed. We're built for connection, for approval, for responses. When you take this away from someone, you create an obsession. They'll try harder to reach you. They'll change how they act, hoping to get any reaction. They'll question their own value. And all of this happens while you're doing absolutely nothing. This isn't about being mean just for fun. This is about knowing how the mind works and using it smart. Weak people beg for attention. Strong people use the lack of it as a weapon. When you ignore someone who hurt you, you don't give them peace of mind. Peace of mind is a gift, and they haven't earned it. Instead, you leave them stuck in mental limbo, always wondering, always doubting, always feeling smaller than before they crossed you. This is the cold reality of power. The biggest punishment isn't getting back at them. The biggest punishment is making them irrelevant, and you do it just by acting like they don't exist. How to pull back without actually leaving. There's a difference between just being gone and strategically pulling back. Being gone is weakness. Pulling back is power. The person who masters this learns to be there physically but unreachable emotionally. He's in the room, but his energy is somewhere else. He looks at you, but sees right through you. This isn't something you pretend. This is something you become. Pulling back strategically means you choose where your presence goes. You don't spread yourself thin across every talk, every argument, every small drama that wants your attention. You save yourself like a weapon that only comes out when winning is guaranteed. Most guys burn themselves out being available. They pick up every call. They answer every text. They jump into every fight. And by doing this, they become ordinary. Being ordinary is the enemy of power. When you're always around, you have no value. When you're rarely around, you become special. And what's special is always wanted. Do this with ruthless consistency. Let calls go to voicemail. Let messages stay unread. Let people wonder where you are and what you're up to. The mystery you create is stronger than any words you could say. Being emotionally unavailable isn't about being cold just to be mean. It's about protecting your inner world from people who haven't earned the right to enter. Your thoughts, your energy, your focus. These are sacred spaces. Only people who prove themselves worthy should get in. Everyone else hits a wall. And here's the secret most will never understand. The less you give, the more they want. The more you pull back, the harder they chase. You're not disappearing, you're rising. And from up there, the noise below gets quieter, smaller, and finally meaningless. The people who deserve your silence. Not everyone deserves your words. Most people don't even deserve your silence. They deserve nothing. Learn to spot the people who should be completely erased from your attention. First are your enemies. These are people actively working against you. They want you to fail. They talk behind your back and smile to your face. Machiavelli taught that a leader must know his enemies, but never give them the satisfaction of being noticed. When you respond to an enemy, you lift them up. You tell everyone they matter enough to disturb your peace. But when you ignore them completely, you take away their power. They become shadows fighting the sun. Second are the critics. These are voices that only exist to destroy what others build. They create nothing. They add nothing. They're spectators yelling from the cheap seats while you're playing the game. Responding to critics is the fastest way to bring yourself down to their level. Let them talk. Let them yell. Their words fade into air, while your actions leave permanent marks. Third are the energy suckers. These are people who drain you with constant problems, endless drama, and needing constant validation. They pretend to be friends, but they're parasites feeding on your attention. Cut them off without explaining why. You owe them nothing. Here's what you need to understand. Every reaction you give to people who don't deserve it is energy taken from your purpose. Every moment spent on their noise is a moment stolen from your greatness. The powerful person doesn't fight every battle. He picks his wars carefully and lets everything else burn out on its own. Your silence isn't doing nothing. Your silence is the loudest thing you can say. Training yourself to feel nothing. Ignoring people is easy to understand, but hard to actually do. Your emotions will betray you if you let them. The insult will hurt. The disrespect will burn. Every part of you will scream to react, to defend yourself, to prove them wrong. This is where weak people fail. They know the plan, but they can't control the feeling. You have to train yourself to feel nothing. This isn't about pushing emotions down. This is about rising above them. The ancient Stoics called it apatheia, a state where outside events can't shake your inner peace. Machiavelli called it virtue, the cold control over yourself that lets you act with precision instead of emotion. Start with small annoyances. When someone disrespects you, pause, breathe, let the anger come, and then let it flow through you without doing anything. Don't clench your fists. Don't change your face. Become stone. Practice this every day until not caring becomes automatic. The person who can't control his reactions is a puppet. Anyone can pull his strings. Anyone can mess with his emotions. He's predictable, easy to use, weak. But the person who has mastered not caring is untouchable. You can insult him, and he'll look at you like you're speaking gibberish. You can betray him, and he'll simply remove you from his life without any drama. He doesn't need to prove anything because his power comes from inside. This skill isn't natural. It has to be built through practice, through failing, through constantly fixing yourself. There will be days when you mess up. There will be moments when emotions win. But every time you take back control, you get stronger. Every time you choose silence over reacting, you add another layer to your protection. Eventually, nothing can get through it, controlling the game without making a move. Every human interaction is a chess game. Most people don't realize they're playing. They move without thinking, based on feelings, without strategy. They react to every attack and protect every position, and they lose. The master of power knows that the best moves are often making no move at all. When you ignore someone strategically, you force them to make the next move. You put them in a spot where they have to come to you, explain to you, look for your approval. The whole dynamic flips. In relationships, whoever cares less has the power. This isn't being negative. This is just reality. When you stop chasing, when you stop explaining, when you stop looking for validation, you become the center. Others start moving around you. In business, the person who looks unbothered during deals wins the deals. Desperation shows, neediness shows. But calm indifference signals that you have choices, that you don't need this deal, that you can walk away and sleep just fine. This is how wealth is built. In social rankings, the person who doesn't look for approval rises above those who do. While others fight for attention, you stand separate. While others gossip and get into small conflicts, you stay above it all. People will notice, people will wonder, and people will respect what they can't figure out. This is social chess at the highest level. You don't win by taking every piece. You win by controlling the board with little effort. You win by making others wear themselves out, while you save your energy. You win by being the player who can't be read, can't be predicted, can't be played. The game is always happening. The only question is whether you are the master or the piece. When caring too much becomes your prison. Here's the trap that ruins most people. They care too much about what others think. They wake up wondering if people like them. They go to sleep replaying conversations, studying every word, looking for signs of approval or rejection. This is slavery dressed up as being socially aware. When you care about others' opinions, you hand them the remote control to your mind. They can make you happy with one nice word. They can destroy you with one insult. Your whole emotional state depends on outside approval. You're no longer free. You're a prisoner begging for crumbs of approval from people who don't even think about you when you're not around. Machiavelli warned against this weakness. A leader who wants everyone to love him will be loved by nobody. A leader who's scared of being hated will make decisions based on fear instead of what works. Needing approval is the death of power. Psychology shows why this happens. From when we're kids, we're programmed to look for validation. Parents reward us for good behavior. Teachers praise us for right answers. Society trains us to measure our worth through other people's eyes. Breaking free from this programming is one of the hardest things you'll ever do, but it's necessary. The person who doesn't need approval can't be controlled. You can't buy him with compliments. You can't scare him with criticism. He operates from an internal guide that doesn't change based on what's popular. This is real freedom. Start by catching yourself when you look for validation. Notice when you change your words to please others. Notice when you hold back because you fear being judged. Each time you catch yourself, you weaken the trap. Each time you act without needing approval, you get closer to freedom. Caring too much isn't being sensitive, it's being weak. The powerful person cares deeply about his mission, his work, his mark on the world. But he doesn't care at all about opinions from people who don't matter to his path. Learn the difference, and you'll break chains you didn't even know were holding you. Becoming someone nobody can touch. Everything you've learned brings you to this moment. The philosophy, the psychology, the discipline, the strategy, all of it comes together into one change. You're becoming untouchable. This isn't being cocky. This is construction. You're building a version of yourself that can't be reached by people who want to hurt you, distract you, or control you. The untouchable person walks differently. He talks differently. He carries himself with a quiet power that doesn't need announcing. People feel it before he says anything. There's something in his eyes that tells the world he's seen through the lies that trap regular people. He doesn't fight for attention because he knows attention will find him. He doesn't argue with idiots because he knows silence is the better weapon. He doesn't chase validation because he validates himself from within. This change doesn't happen in one night. It's built through countless moments of holding back. Every time you chose not to respond, you made yourself stronger. Every time you walked away from drama, you raised your position. Every time you let someone yell into the emptiness of your indifference, you proved you're beyond their reach. The untouchable person isn't cold just to be cold. He's selective. He saves his warmth for people who've earned it. He saves his words for moments that count. He saves his energy for fights that match his purpose. Everything else gets nothing. This is the final truth of Machiavellian power. The leader who can be hurt emotionally will eventually be hurt physically. The leader who can be played through his need for approval will eventually be destroyed by people who exploit that need. But the leader who needs nothing from anyone becomes a force that can't be stopped. You're not becoming heartless. You're becoming your own ruler. There's a kingdom inside you that belongs to nobody but you. Your thoughts are your land. Your emotions are your people. Your attention is your treasure. And you decide who gets through your gates. From today forward, you don't react. You respond only when it helps you. You don't explain. You let your results talk. You don't chase. You attract by becoming someone worth chasing. This is the final transformation. This is what it means to be untouchable. Your rule starts right now. You've stayed in the shadows long enough. You've given your energy to people who drained you and gave nothing back. You've explained yourself to people who refused to understand you. You've chased validation from people who couldn't even validate themselves. That version of you ends tonight. The person who comes out of this moment is different. He carries Machiavelli's wisdom in his mind and the coldness of strategy in his heart. He understands that attention is currency, and he'll never waste it carelessly again. He knows that silence isn't weakness, but the ultimate show of strength. He sees that the skill of ignoring people isn't about hate, but about protecting himself and staying in control. This is your awakening. This is when you stop being a passenger in your life and become the driver. No more reacting to every poke like a puppet. No more explaining yourself to people who've already decided. No more wasting precious hours on people who wouldn't give you a minute. From today forward, you work differently. You talk less and watch more. You only get involved when it serves your purpose. You let the noise of the world fade to background static while you focus on what really matters. Your goals, your growth, your legacy. The people who used to control your emotions will notice the change. They'll test you. They'll provoke you. They'll try everything to pull you back into their games. But you won't be moved. You'll look at them with eyes that have seen the truth, and you'll give them nothing. Not your anger, not your frustration, not even a glance. They'll become ghosts trying to haunt someone who no longer believes they exist. This is cold power psychology in its purest form. This is Machiavellian mastery applied to today's world. This is the ruthless skill of ignoring that separates kings from regular people, winners from victims, legends from the forgotten. You now have knowledge that most people will never understand. Use it wisely. Use it strategically. Use it to build an empire within yourself that no outside force can ever break. If this message has lit something inside you, leave a comment below with the words, "I am untouchable." Let the world know you've chosen power over weakness, silence over noise, freedom over slavery. If you found value in these words, hit the like button and show you're committed to this path. Subscribe to this channel and turn on all notifications so you never miss another lesson in power, psychology, and self-mastery. Your rule begins now. Go forward and be untouchable.